everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And good morning, everybody. Oh, where's my good morning music?
Good morning.
Unbelievable.
Morning.
I am astounded, hurt, and blindsided by the fact that I don't have my morning music. And I'll tell you something else. I can't continue until I get my morning music. How's that?
I am dosing mushrooms right now.
Well, Nikki, I know you are, but I need my morning music. I'm just saying, I don't know. Pardon, I'll tell you, you think I'm kidding, but I will wait until I find it, and we will not proceed until I do.
That's really hot.
Okay, well, thank you, Nikki. I know I've got a couple of things going that are pretty hot. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Come on, man. Tell you what, I just feel that. Oh, I'm sorry. I love that. It is 2023, and a lot of shows are off the air for this first day of the new year.
Happy New Year! Woo!
I gotta be honest, most shows have the right idea. I just mean good morning, Sherry Johnson.
Morning.
Good morning, Vilma.
Morning.
Good morning, Kyle.
Morning.
Ruth Ann Gardner. Good morning.
Morning.
Jules.
Morning.
Vivian.
Morning.
Nick.
Morning.
Murphy.
Morning.
Debbie.
Morning.
What up? Man, what a weekend. Bay Area streets were just flooded. It was crazy. Dora, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, EJ.
Morning.
You sound low. I wish I could hear you more.
I'm being drowned out by the music, aren't I, Kel?
Maybe that's it.
That's the thing. Good morning, everybody. Great to have everybody on board. Albert, good morning to you.
Morning.
Mm-hmm. Albert, 2023 is your year, my friend. That's all I have to say. 2023 is your year.
Albert, thank you.
Count on it. Go with it. Take it and make it. Kim, good morning to you.
Kim, how are you?
I do love our time together. I wish it was
love
more
our time.
substantial.
Yeah, I love it as well. You got my new Nikki Maduro show mug on the mail.
Oh, that's very cool. I saw her advertising that. In fact, I saw her advertising that, and she's got a T-shirt, I think, also, which is pretty cool.
And a tote bag. This is a Christmas gift from Nikki.
Oh,
that
that's
was nice.
really cool.
That's
You know what
really
I got
hot.
from Mark
Yeah, that
Thompson?
is hot. Yeah.
Go ahead and play it. You know what I got.
I'll tell you, we do have a tradition
get-
on the show, and I'm hoping we maintain it.
You get nothing.
Thank
Exactly.
you.
Get nothing. I think we're
I
already
love it.
insanely generous on this show, so
Oh, yes, we are. We are.
we don't. So we try to keep the the over the top generosity. But I will tell you a quick. Speaking of Christmas, by the way, I'll tell you this story about generosity and Christmas in a moment. But even as I do, I want to tell you that I appreciate you hitting the like button, of course, smashing the like button. Yeah.
With your iron rod.
I just wanted to tell you that we will do as per usual. This is a live show. This is a real show. This is the official holiday, but we are still on the air. Phone all your friends. Tell them the show is live. All of us had the same feeling. Then I will tell you that story in a second. As we woke up this morning, we all had the same feeling. Now, I didn't speak to Kim about this, and I didn't speak to Albert about this. But I know that they had the same feeling that I did. And the feeling was powerful. The feeling was palpable. The feeling was substantial. The feeling was, why are we doing a live show on a holiday? We all felt it.
Because it's
But
the
now
Mark
that-
Thompson show, that's
We
why.
wanted to, well, the theory was that we're committed to these shows. We're a new show getting off the ground. I just didn't want to take a lot of time off when we're trying to develop momentum.
Yeah,
That was
sure.
the idea behind it. So, and that's why we're doing it. In other words, we appreciate your loyalty. We appreciate your support. I'm asking the audience for money. And for all these reasons, I felt we should do a show if we're here. So that's why we're doing it. It's just that it was a tough call, as you're scrambling to get stuff together on the holiday. Now, every day the paper comes and the paper guy throws the paper, and I do like the old school paper. That's because I'm old. I put the old school. So the paper guy throws the paper, and there are two papers that arrive. I have and I'm sure you do as well, Kim, because you're on top of a lot of different stuff, and you have probably a lot of news services I don't even know about. But the papers are thrown such that I literally can just bend down and get them when I open the front door.
Oh.
So I have to walk down the stairs to a couple of these two stairs that are in front of the house, and I pick it up there. But
that's a good aim.
Over the fence, excuse me, from the street. Guy's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Every year we leave it, we give him $75. Okay.
That's nice.
I think it's a pretty good tip for a paper delivery person.
Yeah.
This year, I usually let Courtney do that. This year we didn't do it, not because we don't want to, but because we couldn't find his address, and we got to call and get his address and all this sort of thing. If I'm lying, I'm dying.
His
Last
aim is
5
off.
days, that paper is like an acre away from the front door. I got to go out. It's out by the driveway. It's not close to the door of the driveway. It's all the way down there. Now, you cannot tell me that that's a coincidence. You cannot. Am I right? The
you're
dude
right.
is like, dude, where's my 75 beans?
Yeah.
The guy's saying, hey, you give me $75 every year. All of a sudden, I don't get $75. You don't get your paper at the door.
What?
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying.
I think every morning he probably thought, good tipper. I'm going to make sure he gets what he needs. And now when he goes past your house, he thinks, guy stiffed me.
Right.
I don't care where it lands.
New residents, maybe.
Just chuck it.
Screw them. Let me teach them. Absolutely for real. We're doing Mark's Murder Mystery Monday, bottom of the hour with Courtney.
Good.
The breaks in the Idaho case are substantial, so we will do those right after the bottom of the hour in Kim's News. At 11 o'clock, in the 11 o'clock hour, we're live. This is a show, real. We are bringing the full weight of the Mark Thompson team to you, and in that spirit, Pulitzer Prize winner Michael Hilsick will be here. He has a couple of key columns that I want to touch on, one of which is people talk about all the ways we're losing residents in California. We're losing people to Texas. We're losing people to Florida. What's the reality on that? It's true, okay? I mean, I think it's indisputable. It's true. We, lost a seat in Congress as a result of it. But who are we losing? Are we losing those big businesses? Hiltzick will weigh in on that. Are we losing the most valuable Californians? However you want to compute that. We'll do that with Michael Hilsick just after 11 o'clock. It was a massive storm, and it ain't over. So let's get into it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim, literally, there were people floating on various objects down San Francisco streets.
Yes.
What was the sum total of the storminess over the weekend?
So I'm working on loading some pictures in for you, but I would say the folks worst off were in the Sacramento area, where some levees breached on the Consumnes River, and there were people put under evacuation orders, had to leave their homes in the rain last night. That probably was the worst. But in the Bay Area, the Castro District, Daly City, Santa Cruz Mountains, city of Capitola under some water. Even Albert was telling me they had some flooding in the Newark and Union City area. So, there were some definite hot spots. I think Santa Cruz Mountains and Capitola.
I think the South Bay,
worst.
the South Bay got hit pretty hard. I saw San Jose. There's a river there that was like just at a trickle before the storm, and then it was like, I forget the name. It's like some hard to pronounce name. Anyway, so I know that they're
Was it Guadalupe?
no, it was like
Okay.
Ignacio or something like that.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, anyway, blah blah blah. It sucks and it's not over. What's the story, Kim? There's more, right? There's another day of it today.
This is another, yeah, then the rain comes again. They found a way, apparently, to patch those levees in the Sacramento area, so they think they won't have the same problem again when the rain returns. The problem is in the Bay Area, we have all these burn scars, and the ground is now saturated. So now comes the threat of landslides, and we saw that over the weekend in the Santa Cruz Mountains. There's still highways closed. Highway 9, Highway 1 in the Santa Cruz area remain closed because of landslides and power lines down.
And it's also the case, I believe, that Tahoe is
Oh,
enduring
Tahoe.
insane snows. I mean, it's great for
Yeah.
snowpack. It's great for skiing and snowboarding. Jeremy Renner, the actor, is trying to plow his place, right, Kim? And
Yeah.
now he's in the hospital.
Yeah, he had a snowplow accident, and we don't know much about exactly what happened there, but we know that he has a home in the Washoe County area in the Tahoe region.
He's from
And
Stockton, He's from
yeah,
Stockton. Yeah.
Modesto area, Stockton, yeah. So he's got this house in Tahoe on the Nevada side, and he was involved in a snowplow accident, the likes of which leave him in critical condition in the hospital.
That's what they say, critical but stable condition.
Yeah.
Seriously injured while plowing snow. We really don't, as Kim says, we really don't know much more than that. His family is with him and he's receiving excellent care, says a spokesperson for Jeremy Renner. He's 51 years old, nominated for 2 Academy Awards. The Hurt Locker. So we're sitting around last night, and I said, he really did such a great job with that performance in he played a guy who defuses bomb. I turned to Courtney. I said, it's the locker, the Foot Locker. I know it's not Foot Locker. I know it's, and she said, we might have spent 9 minutes trying to come up with it. But I did come up with it. Thank you very much, everybody. I won the, it was a slow, is that him? That's Jeremy Renner. Put him
Trying
in.
to bring it up, but I was having a hard time. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. For those who just need to put a face to the name, that's Jeremy Renner. No bueno. Yeah, not good at all. Meantime, on the other side of town, after all the weather and all of that was, it was come on, Albert. What happened? The Niners in a game that they should have dominated. I mean, look, this is a Raiders team that is in a free fall. Instead, the Niners made it look clever. Where was our vaunted defense, Albert? I mean, I don't get it. I mean,
I think it was a combination of factors. I think we weren't prepared for.
Yeah, Commissioner, please. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, we weren't prepared for their new quarterback, who's been under the head coach of the Raiders for quite some time in New England. But my credit to the Raiders played well. So I think
no kidding. Yeah, they did. That new quarterback is kind of in the Purdy category.
I think Brock Purdy saw himself play on the other side. He showed a lot of moxie. He was running. He was making insane throws.
I'll ding Moxie. Damn right I'll ding Moxie. First ding of the new year was going to Albert, and it's Moxie.
Nice.
All for it.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah,
Well
okay.
done.
All right. Yeah. He did.
But
He
I'm
was
glad it was disappointing. A disappointing result for the Niners. We missed the field goal at the end, and the game was a high-scoring game, and it was close to the end, and it shouldn't have been. But I'm glad the Niners played their part into the Raiders' narrative that they always blow the game. They're always in it till the end, and then they blow the game. And
the Raiders
we were part of that.
Games.
Yeah, we were part of that this season, so I'm glad
Albert,
we could do
thank
that to our old neighbors here in the East Bay.
It is true. The Raiders have so many fans everywhere. They're like the Dallas Cowboys. They have fans. Now the Cowboys haven't moved. The Raiders have moved. Like, they picked up, they're really a Bay Area team. They're the Oakland Raiders, okay? And then they became the Los Angeles Raiders. And then they became Las Vegas. But when they move to all of these different communities, they pick up fandomness.
Right.
And so you have all of this interest, They're the OGs are the people who were the Oakland Raiders fans, seems to me. But now
Yeah,
there's
and then during the rap when the rap scene was hitting big in LA, they also happened to be in LA, and a lot of their memorabilia was being worn like with NWA during that time. So
yeah. I was doing the weather in Los Angeles, and my friend was doing the #1 hip hop show on television where all the hip hop artists of the time were performing. And I was at a function where I was going to be doing the weather live. Got a lot of those live remotes, I was going to be doing the weather live, and I see NWA there. Okay. And, they're there with their crew. And I call him and I say, hey, listen, NWA is here. I'm doing the weather in about an hour. And I think it'd be great if NWA would come on the air with me and do the weather with me. Just even if they just talk to me for a second, then I'll do the weather. They can go away. He said, Mark, don't go anywhere near those people. I said, no, seriously, man. I mean, come on. It's a fun thing. He said, I'm serious. Don't go near them. I know them. Don't go near them. So never happened. I still to this day don't know. I guess NWA they put the A in NWA.
Was it a FCC violation waiting to happen, or
I
what?
think he felt that there was a certain volatility to the situation that
Okay.
probably was, not the most manageable. And so for that reason, he had that view. So anyway, but I mentioned in the context of the Raiders and the sort of they were viewed and they are viewed. I mean, let's face it, the Raiders still have that bad boy image, right, Albert?
yeah,
And
it's
so-
cultural, but unfortunately they didn't show up. There was a lot of red in the stands yesterday.
Yeah.
in
Albert,
Las Vegas.
What's your take then? As a result of the Niners' victory, what happens in terms of the playoff opportunities for the Niners? Obviously in the playoffs, but you know what I'm saying. The top seed is what they want.
The top seed is what they want, but they cemented unfortunately, they won't be able to get the top seed, but we got the second seed. The Eagles are too far ahead of us with the wins, but we have the second seed, not bad, and we're in the dance, and our offense is looking great.
Yeah, the offense looks good. The defense may want to take a meeting. Am I right, Albert? What
I'm glad it happened now. I'm glad it happened now and not in the playoffs. Kind of like a refocus. They've been pretty dominant the past month, and it's a trap game. Complacent, new quarterback. Raiders are struggling. Kind of take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit. So, got to get that foot back on the gas.
All right. That's Albert, ladies and gentlemen. No, the Albert is what I want. Thank you. There you go. All right. Now,
The Mark Thompson Show.
the Oakland Zoo has closed for weeks because of a massive sinkhole. Yeah. This is unreal. Right by the entrance along Golf Links Road, there was a culvert collapsing, and the culvert runs underneath the road at the entrance and connects to the Arroyo Viejo Creek. Wow. Kim, analysis, please.
Well, I was just writing this story for the news, but since you mentioned it,
All right. Okay.
Kim, how are you?
Okay.
let me see if I can.
It just
get a
jumped out at
picture
me.
up.
Apparently, they'll be closed until January 17th while you get the picture, maybe. They're getting materials and they're getting repairs. They say that could take 2 weeks or longer. The animals are safe, they say. No, they're safe in a zoo. But there you see it.
Pretty big sinkhole.
That's a pretty big sinkhole. You can't just put up some yellow tape and have people walk around that.
Step around, please. No.
It's pretty huge. Yeah.
The bummer part is, and I don't know how many people would have gone to the zoo in the rain, but it was, for most people, it is holiday break, and so a lot of kids have this week off of school. Probably would have been a very busy week at the zoo, but I think it shows that the zoo in the Oakland Zoo in the last couple of years has had some funding issues.
Right.
And they've had a huge fundraising push and made some money, which is great, but it shows that they need a lot of help. They have a infrastructure issue here, obviously. So
Yeah, it's Kim's right. And COVID hit them hard. So that's another a thing that they're really recovering from, I guess.
yeah.
Was she an inspiration to you, Kim, as a female journalist? Barbara Walters?
Absolutely. What a disappointing day that was. I mean, she's in her 90s, and so it's coming, but it's hard to lose an icon like that.
Trailblazing television news broadcaster, ABC News anchor, first woman who
Yep,
anchored a newscast
that's right.
alongside Harry Reasoner, highest paid person on the news at the time, $1 million a year. She, and this, I'll remind you, is in an industry dominated by men. Okay, women were secretaries and women were stenographers. I mean, that really was, it's a sad fact, but we've evolved a long way. I mean, many would say we still haven't evolved far enough. Women still don't make the same as men across the board. You still have all the sexual harassment that does exist in the workplace, blah, blah, blah. And that's important, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying it was in that atmosphere that Barbara Walters excelled. So, and she was made fun of. She was a cultural icon, right?
Yeah.
But she co-hosted 2020. That was the primetime news thing with Hugh Downs. She launched The View. It was her idea to do this show for women, by women, where essentially the news of the day is kicked around, and it became and has still occupied this position as a place where a lot of people get news, and it has influenced a lot of people. The View. Again, I sort of
my words upset so many people.
All right. And it's a place where if you say the wrong thing, you need to correct it.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Right.
I misspoke.
Right. It's where my bad.
My bad. I'm sorry.
So Barbara Walters, truly a pioneer. The other thing she seemed to do, and I really appreciate this, and this hasn't been something that's spoken of specifically, but when I mention it to you, you're going to go, oh, yeah, that's true. She understood the importance of not just the hard-boiled news and not just the importance of getting an interview, but she understood doing things in a way that packages some of that news and packages some of those conversations in manners that bring a lot of viewers to the set. By that, I simply mean she didn't just give you the hard-nosed news. She gave you the Oscar interviews. She gave you the celebrity interviews, and she was dinged for that. She was carved up for that. But the reality was she did that alongside interviews with, Jordan's King Hussein and with Golda Meir and with the, heads of state of all sorts. And she was basically scooping everybody on her various gets with interviews. But at the same time, she was also understanding, and she did this on 2020, the idea of the celebrity culture. And you needed to put a little luster around some of this in order to get people interested enough to come and then stay around. So I give her a lot of credit.
I was just reading this article in Variety about The View and how that imprints on her legacy, because obviously for a lot of female journalists, she was their inspiration, right? She was a groundbreaker, a trendsetter, right? She was the first. But how did The View kind of imprint its image on her legacy as well? And I hadn't realized this, but apparently it became the way that panel interviews are conducted. And I didn't know that, but
Mm.
yeah, the View was the first really to do, according to this article in Variety, the first to do this type of panel situation. Now, I thought that there were news shows, like Sunday news shows, that did that panel thing before that. But according to this article, yeah, that it was what they call, let's see if they can get it here. They call it something that became a hotbed of intrigue for tabloids.
Yeah.
So one of the first models for panel shows. So
No, that's
interesting.
interesting. When she
Yeah.
co-hosted the Today Show, that was a big launching pad for her, and she almost didn't get that job. And she had a last thing about her, just because she did have an interesting life. She feels as though, I mean, she felt as though, and that her ambition and that burning ambition that she had, clearly that was
Right.
played out across all of these different ways that we've spoken, all these different projects that we've spoken of. Uh, and her desire to succeed was because largely she grew up in a family where there was a developmentally disabled child as well. Her sister was developmentally disabled, and she felt a real sense of responsibility, at least this is what she says, toward this child, both financially and also to excel. It's an interesting thing, an interesting phenomenon within
Yeah.
families,
And she
But,
felt bad about it.
mm.
She felt bad because she kind of tried to hide it.
Oh, is that right? Wow, I didn't know
Mhm.
that. Yeah.
Also, this article, the interviewer said, for as wonderful as an interviewer as she was, interviewing her was hard. That she was not an easy interview, that she was closed off and, was really hard to pull information out of her, which is interesting.
Um, Neiman says that she named her daughter after the sister. Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Huh. All right, we're running a little behind already, which is in keeping with the show. Yeah, it's very, very right. Why not start the new year as we finished the last year? This is a live show. Please smash the like
Smashed it
button.
with your iron rod.
Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself. In the new year, we're here for you. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Michael Hilsick still to come in the next hour. We'll talk about the reality of people leaving California, what it actually means. But next, the breaks in the Idaho murder case. Pretty huge over the weekend. Kim's news first, and then Mark's Murder Mystery Monday as we continue. Thanks for being here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And the Mark Thompson Show is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Sacramento County officials are confirming 2 levee breaches after a weekend's full of storms. The National Weather Service officials in Sacramento issued a flash flood warning in the Wilton area. This was on Saturday. Because of a levee failure, residents were told seek higher ground. The warning for people living west of the Consumnes River, south of Wilton Road. The New Year's Eve storm turned out to be San Francisco's second wettest day on record. As of 3 p.m. Saturday, a rain gauge recorded downtown San Francisco at 5.33 inches. There's a lot of water in the roadways as well. It was close to beating the record of 5.54 inches in a single day, dating back to November in 1994. ABC 7 News says December so far has been the wettest month of all of 2022. The city saw 31 days worth of December rainfall in only 13 hours.
I'd be excited, except for what happened last year, where we got, remember all that record rain and snow, and then nothing for January, February, March. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And as Mark was mentioning, this major sinkhole has forced the closure of the Oakland Zoo. Zoo officials posting on social media yesterday, the sinkhole, they say, was caused by a collapsed culvert under a vehicle entrance to the zoo at Golf Links Road. This is part of some widespread damage and problems caused by what they're calling the atmospheric river storm that slammed the Bay Area Saturday. Officials say the earliest the zoo will reopen sometime in mid-January. The man arrested in connection to the murders of 4 University of Idaho students is now waiving his right to an extradition hearing. The 28-year-old Washington State University grad student was arrested last week in Pennsylvania. That's his home state. He's accused of killing the 4 students in a house near the University of Idaho campus in Moscow back in November. And there may be a challenger to House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy. In his effort to become Speaker, in an interview with Fox News, Virginia Congressman Bob Good predicted a true conservative would emerge on the ballot when the House votes for a new Speaker on Tuesday. Good didn't say who might be the alternative to McCarthy, but he said he would be voting no on McCarthy. First execution of an openly transgender death row inmate scheduled for tomorrow. Amber McLaughlin is set to die by lethal injection in Missouri after being convicted of first-degree murder, rape, and assault in 2003. Her fate now lays in the hands of Governor Mike Parsons, who could grant clemency. We'll wait to see what happens there. This is awful. The National Transportation Safety Board says an Alabama airport worker died over the weekend after being sucked into an airplane's engine. It happened Saturday afternoon at Montgomery Regional Airport. According to the NTSB, American Airlines, this plane had just arrived from Dallas-Fort Worth International when a ground support personnel was what they say ingested into the engine. Lottery players still seeing the jackpots continue to grow this week. The Powerball prize, $265 million after no one picked all 6 numbers in Saturday's drawing. So tomorrow's Mega Millions jackpot, a whopping $785 million. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, you've got to call Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL. You can see it at the bottom of your screen as well, MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
What he's got going here is a situation.
It's unbelievably offensive.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
I offer this sincere apology to you today.
Everything is going extremely well.
Call me a liar. Know what you call him?
You, sir, are a liar.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Why a liar? Your pants are on fire.
Google told me.
Can you let him finish, sir? It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
No.
I'm going to tell you what I think.
What are the porn stars doing?
Do you have this simple account?
Isn't anybody but a weed?
100% effective. How about that?
Say what?
There is no defense for my conduct.
I misspoke. I stand corrected.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Time's up, mother effers.
Yeah, what up, everybody? Hello. It is a live show on this this first day of the new year. Actually, yesterday was the first day, right? Today is the second day of the new year. But this is the holiday. A lot of shows are off. Not us. No, we've got the full crew here. We have, we don't have the full crew because Tony is not here. And I will address that in a moment because it is not without effects on us.
Albert, thank you.
Albert is here. We love our Albert and we love our Kim.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for smashing the like button for a live show on this Monday. I am the music bed is. It did feel weird. The music bed. Did it sound weird or something? Kim, was that the music?
It sounded a little hollow, but now you sound good. So I don't know.
I don't know what is what problem. I don't get it, man. I can't worry about it more than I'm worried.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
They do. I've got all my stuff here. I couldn't throw more attention. I throw money at it. We have Tony looking at it, and still it's just.
It's all right. I can hear you fine. I think we just move on.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. One of my resolutions is to marinate more in my anxiety and my. Yeah, it really is. I can hear everything, but Mark sounds kind of. Oh, actually, Kim sent me a little private message saying I can hear everything, but double check your audio. The gain seems low, and your background music drowns you out. Oh, wait a minute. All of a sudden, I'm very concerned with it. If I'm drowned out.
Okay, now we can hear you fine.
I will not be drowned out.
Carry on.
That's not fake. That's real.
Apparently. All right.
Oh, Lord. Here you go.
Oh, my God. I don't know. Look, I do the very best I can. All right. It's time. It is Monday. It is just after the bottom of the hour or on its way to the top of the next hour. We are here with a major case, and I will I'll try to get it to run for you. It's
welcome to Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Wow. And the host and correspondent for all things murder mystery. Well, I don't need to tell you, but I am going to tell you anyway. It's Courtney, everybody. Yeah.
Yay.
Hi.
Courtney, say hi to Albert.
Hi, Albert.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. The deal is that there is a major case in Idaho. Am I right, Courtney?
Yes. Yes.
And what I'd like to do is I'd like to run a little bit from ABC. They did a piece that I think sets the table, and then you can bring in some discussion around the table setting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All
that's
right.
great.
So you'll have to tell me if you're able to see this. Kim, can you see? Because without Tony, okay, without Tony, I'm having some issues here. So, all right, here.
Now I can't hear it, but I can see it.
Oh, you can't hear it? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
You can't hear it. Okay. So you see, when Tony was not here today, I had sent everything to Tony thinking he was going to be on today. And then when he's not on, and by the way, I'm speaking right now, not just randomly complaining. I want you to know I am I'm stalling while I try to fix this. But I don't really have the tools necessary to fix it, Courtney, because I'm a man of limited abilities when it comes to this.
Was there a mention otherwise?
You can see this, but you can't hear it. I don't know, man.
Mark, can you send me the link? I'll share it on my screen.
All right, I'm going to send Albert the link.
I mean, this might not be a good time to bring it up, but somebody did send in drops for me, Mark, and
oh yeah. Well, we don't those.
So
I was going to.
And I appreciate that.
This is. I don't know what to do. I need to stop sharing. Right. My God.
Do you want? Yeah.
This is. Yeah. You'll fill in some of the details here in a moment, but so we stop sharing. You can't see the screen anymore. Am I right?
That's
yeah,
right.
You're good.
Okay. I don't know.
It's all right. We'll get it.
Okay, we will get it. Albert, I'll send this to you. Maybe you can. I should have CC'd Albert on all of this. I don't know why I didn't. I just assumed Tony would be here, and I'm disgusted. Yeah, I'm disgusted by this, and of course he was sick too. You know, he was sick on Friday.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah,
He did get his pizza maker over the weekend, so he might be just busy rolling dough right now.
Oh, you're right. He could be rolling dough, man. This is all just right. Everybody's saying hello to Courtney. Yeah, Courtney.
Yeah, this is
Albert, tell me you got this that I just sent to you. New details about the Idaho college murder suspect.
I got it.
Okay, thank you. If you could share that, I appreciate it. That's a good setup piece, and then I think we can You know, the funny thing is we put a lot of work into this, and yet we put a lot of work into this, and yet I sent it all to Tony, and so it's like it's just dying there in Tony's email.
Well, the good news is this is riveting. So.
Yeah.
Really holding on to the audience's attention.
Albert, thank you.
Albert, thank you.
All right. Anyway, this is a pretty big deal when here we go. Albert's got it for you. Let's
Four University of Idaho students as they were sleeping is due in court on Tuesday. Brian Koberger now faces 4 counts of first-degree murder. He was arrested on Friday in Pennsylvania, thousands of miles away from the crime scene. His attorney says he'll waive his extradition hearing because he's, quote, eager to be exonerated. A childhood friend reveals new details tonight about the 28-year-old graduate student. Here's ABC's Kana Whitworth.
Tonight, Brian Koberger's childhood friend Thomas speaking to ABC News, describing the Idaho murder suspect as mean in high school, saying Brian was eager to be seen as dominant.
He would just put me in, he would grapple me and put me in headlocks and arm bars and stuff like that.
Koberger's family releasing a statement which reads in part, "First and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel. We have fully cooperated with law enforcement agencies in an attempt to seek the truth and promote his presumption of innocence." The small community in Moscow terrified for weeks after roommates Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin were found stabbed to death in their off-campus home in mid-November. Koberger's lawyer saying Brian's father flew from his home in the Poconos to Washington State for a pre-planned cross-country road trip back home to Pennsylvania for Christmas in that white Hyundai Elantra.
Driving cross-country took them approximately 2.5 days. Mr. Koberger indicated that Brian was acting normal and not out of character on the drive back.
Wow, imagine that.
The car seized from the Koberger's home after Brian was arrested.
Yeah, go ahead.
Friday morning. The Monroe County Chief Public Defender saying Koberger is eager to return to Idaho and be exonerated. Police in Moscow say they're confident they arrested the only person responsible for the murders. Still, they're searching for a murder weapon they describe as a fixed blade knife. The police chief saying the community has a name and a face, and now they're hoping more people will come forward with information.
We have a lot of work to do still. We still have a lot of pieces we have to put together. That's why we're still asking people, if you have known this individual, contact us.
And Lindsay, Chief Fry telling me.
I mentioned that that guy's audio didn't sound so great either. Okay. I mean, in the middle of this murder story, sorry to bring that up, but I'm kind of audio obsessed. Sounded sort of hollow. All right. Anyway, back to the murder yarn here. Go ahead to Kanya Whitworth, if you would, please. In Philadelphia.
That within an hour of releasing Koberger's name, they had more than 400 tips pour in. Also, Koberger's lawyer confirming to us that he remained there in Pullman working towards his PhD until mid-December. Now, of course, he's set to appear before a judge on Tuesday and is hoping to be quickly sent to Idaho to face charges. Lindsay.
Thank you very much. That was really good.
Hi, everyone.
Say that this is interesting. Yeah, what Sticky Cola Bud says, that killer looks so clean cut. I imagined a rough-looking Hell's Angels type guy. It is a sign of what Jules is saying. What a psychopath that you could kill those people, presuming, and it seems as though there's a lot of evidence, and you'll get to, Courtney will share some, but you could do that, and then you could take this long drive with your dad and you could just seem completely normal. It's insane. So what did lead investigators to this guy?
Well, so according to Idaho law, they're not going to release the arrest affidavit until they've served him. And so his extradition trial would have started today, but since he's waived that, it should come out in the next 2 weeks. Having said that, there were a couple key factors that have reached the press that seemingly led them to Brian Koberger. The first was obviously the car. So they had 22,000 Hyundai Elantras that were white, and they narrowed it down to him for a variety of reasons. It's also said that there was DNA found at the scene, that the scene had quite a lot of DNA there. And so apparently they took DNA from the scene and ran it through a public database.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Exactly. And then used genetic genealogy techniques to connect Koberger with his family members, because he actually wasn't in CODIS. He's never been arrested before, if you could imagine that.
What is CODIS?
It's a national database of criminals and DNA.
I knew that.
Well
but
done, Courtney. Nice.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Very well done. That was really well done.
Do you have the pictures or no?
The pictures.
It's okay if you don't, but oh, there we go.
Okay.
So these are the 4 victims,
And I also want to
and
know
their
what
other
happened to the
roommates.
pictures I was supposed to see this
Okay,
week.
they're there. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
So these are the 4 victims and their 2 additional roommates. There's actually chilling audio, which I'll get to, but it's alleged that it's Bryan Kohberger talking about the murders and talking about why he didn't murder the last 2 victims. If you go to the next photo, this is the house that the young women lived in and that Ethan was sleeping in. If you go to the next one, this is an aerial shot of the house. You can see that he entered in on the 2nd floor there. And then
because you can walk up to that deck from the outside.
Yeah, if you look at that archway, he walked in through there and then went up to the 3rd floor where there's that deck. And then the next photo is of Bryan, which we've seen. This is actually Bryan's apartment in Pullman, Washington.
The
for
next
anybody
photo
that's
down.
not, yeah. So Bryan was a PhD student at Washington State University. This is where he lived. But of course, his father flew to Washington to drive him back to Pennsylvania just before the holidays. It's also said that while they were driving and stopping for gas and food, that Bryan would wear gloves so he wouldn't leave DNA in different places, because the FBI had been tracking him at a minimum for 4 to 5 days while he drove cross country. But I believe that they knew that he was the suspect for a little bit of time before that.
Wow.
In the press conference on Friday, Chief Fry said, "We've been on." I'm gonna paraphrase this, but something to the effect of we've been on pins and needles for the last 2 days. So I think the arrest warrant proceedings or what happened 2 days before the actual arrest happened.
The fact that they tracked this guy, that they followed this guy across the country, they knew that he was the guy. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What else did you need?
If you go to the next pictures, but yeah, they knew that he was the guy and that he acted alone. So he drove cross country. You go down. So this is his parents' home. So he's arrested. The SWAT team comes in at 3 a.m. and arrests him. The next photo is the arrest docket out of Pennsylvania. So we have not seen what is filed in Idaho. We will see that in the coming weeks.
Okay.
So it is said. So if you go to this slide, it is said that he was stalking the young women before the murder. Now, a lot of this social media is alleged, but I did my best to find things that have been corroborated. So this is his social media account, and he was following Maddie, and he was following Kaylee.
Ooh.
And he was following them from what I know to be 2 accounts. Now, of course, unfortunately, people take advantage of situations like this for whatever horrible reason that they want to be in the media. So there are a bunch of fake accounts for him, but he was in fact following them. And it is said that cell phone pings happened in and around the movements of the people who lived in the house.
Wow.
So he was.
So he was stalking them on some level.
Yes, it's said that he was stalking them. Now, this is some social media posts, and there's a lot of social media out there. There's people coming out of the woodwork that are talking about Bryan, that are talking about he was a heroin user in high school, and then I think he got past that, maybe went to rehab and had been doing various jobs until he went back to school for criminology and criminal justice. But these are 3 fairly assumed pieces of content that were posted on social media, one after the other, which is why I'm bringing them up. And it's said to be Bryan. So on the left-hand side, there's a post from 4chan, which most people know is sort of this underground meme community that I believe
like the incel thing where okay.
Yes, exactly. I've covered out most of this post because it is fairly awful and graphic.
Can you just speak to that though? What are you guys talking about, the incel thing? That's where, as it relates to him specifically, I mean.
Sure. It's like a community of men that are obsessed with women, but that, not dating women.
Okay.
So
They can't get it. They can't get a date. For some reason, they can't. Women are not, they're repelled by these men. And so the men become then angry at women for their own failure to attract someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
make sense. Thank you.
Yes.
So he was part of that community as well, you're saying.
It's said that he was, yes. And
okay.
so this is a post from 4chan. I've covered out a lot of it because it was fairly explicit, but it happened on December 12th. So somebody on December 12th was gloating about the murders and then said they were in the mountains of Pennsylvania, which is very specific. Then the piece of content in the middle, that's from TikTok. It was posted by an anonymous account. The only other postings on that account are like Lizzo and Harry Styles. It's very strange. And it only started toward the end of October, but that is said to be Brian. And I would never play the audio because it's very explicit, but he goes into detail about the murder. And
so
he
this
claims,
guy, go ahead. He actually takes you through the murder, and then he says, well, this is what other people have reported, even though he's taking you through beat by beat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Like
he
wanted to be caught or something.
I know. It's so weird. And like, I did my best to find a shot that had as much of his face in it as you could see. But he says that in the video, he is a family member of someone investigating the crime. And then he kind of goes in between the man and then a man. And he's sort of all over the place in the way that he talks about the perpetrator, but he never says murder. He never says defendant. He never says anything like that. He keeps talking about what a man would do. It's just very creepy. So this happens on December 13th, the day after the 4chan post. And then on the 14th, in the right-hand side is a screen grab from a podcast that Brian called into. If you compare the voices from the middle and the far right, it is the same voice. And so a caller calls into a true crime podcast called T-Rev, I think is the host's name, and starts to say that he used to work with Sigma Chi frat guys, and they would always ask him how to get away with murder. And he contradicts himself a bunch in the like 10 minutes that he's on air. And you can progressively see the comments get more questioning who the caller is and how creepy the caller is. And the caller's basically trying to put the blame onto Sigma Chi as a community and as a fraternity, that they somehow would have interest in killing somebody. And so that happened on the 14th. So within 3 days, you have very public postings about the crime through different social channels.
This is interesting. Are you done with the pictures? Just to ask.
Yes.
This is interesting because it's kind of what Kim was noting. You end up with a murderer who is sort of taking a victory lap kind of on his murders. So he does it with his own personal posts. He does it on 4chan. Then he does it on these podcasts that you talk about, in which imagine being a caller and sort of establishing your cred about your own murder, and doing a crappy job of covering up your identity, which is essentially what you're saying he did.
Yes. I mean, it's terrifying. And I don't want to play it. I don't want to give him what he was seeking in any of that. And it's also
Courtney
really
had all this
explicit.
information. The whole weekend was like, I've got this, I've got that, but I think it's too intense for the audience.
It's
and
really
too intense
scary.
just in general. Yeah.
And I think that like looking at him and his photograph, as I think one of the listeners said, it was a gruesome murder and it was done with a knife. And if you were just looking at Brian, you might consider him a PhD student, not somebody that was a serial killer that just took the lives of 4 innocent young students. And so, and I think there was an air of arrogance with him. I mean, he clearly thought, I assume he clearly thought that the police did not have a lead on him, when at that time they probably did. But to the credit of the Moscow police, I think they took a lot of flack because they didn't give a lot of information out.
Right.
And so it was kind of considered like, oh, these kind of, sorry to use this word, but like hillbilly cops, and they don't know what they're doing. when they knew the entire time, but they knew if any information got out, they were working with somebody who had a master's in criminology and criminal justice and was working on his PhD, and they ran the risk of having him as a potential flight.
Sure. No, I mean, the cops, on the one hand, they don't want to seem incompetent, but the other hand is dictating we have to keep things close to the vest, which sort of suggests we're incompetent. In other words, because we don't have any breaks in the case, when the reality is they had major breaks in the case. They really had identified this guy. They even followed him to his parents' house. I thought it was interesting in the parents' statement. I guess, we're looking forward to helping with the presumption of innocence is what they I'm thinking, I guess that's what a parent has to say. But dude, if your kid's DNA was at the scene,
yes. I mean, and his sister is a therapist that works with people with trauma. And his mom had recently written into a local newspaper in and around Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, where she had talked about a school shooter incident. So anyway, I just can't imagine finding out that your son has been accused of these crimes.
Courtney, any last second, any questions at all, Kim or Albert, for Courtney from the audience at all? Serial killers look outwardly typical with warped minds, says TG. Is that true? You're a serial killer, something of an authority.
I think there's something in the eyes. It's interesting that someone just mentioned that, because I was just looking at this article where they talked about this type of eye and there being like too much in the white of the eye. I can't remember the name of what they were talking about, but I do think you hear patterns of
dead eye.
Yeah, it's like a dead eye. There's too much white in the eye, that they're loners. Wow. That was the same thing about Brian. People were like, oh, he's a loner. I just saw him going to the trash and back. The people that lived in his apartment complex.
Yeah.
He made women uncomfortable. You see patterns of this. And so, yeah, I think there are.
This is interesting. Neiman says bragging shows it wasn't his first time, whether it's an animal or human. He's done this before. I wonder about that. He seems, as you say, to have been stalking these particular people. Maybe it was his first time. I don't know. I mean,
well, he did the survey in May. And so he asked criminals of very serious crimes, their psychological and their state of mind and their mindset in and around the crimes they committed. And so one might think that he was interested in understanding that, and maybe that was leading up toward what happened. And then I don't know where he came into contact with the young women of that house. In the call, he talks about, I think it's in the call or in the TikTok video, he talks about the house being a party house. So he either was there and seeing it or something, but like he clearly started to have resentment toward these young women. But I don't know. I mean, he could have. He could have. I think he only was in criminology in the last couple of years. I mean, he was a student. He was a school security guard at a high school in within the last decade. And so I think his pursuits of higher education in this field are fairly recent.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just trying to understand himself.
Yeah. It's really
screwed up guy.
It's really, really awful. I've
those sweet lives.
I've had a hard time sleeping. Not to bring it to myself, but just like the horribleness of this, the gruesomeness of this, and to think that he was out there stalking them and planning this. It's beyond anything I could remember in recent times or any, it's just awful.
Well, it's why I don't watch this stuff. I also just don't have an interest in it per se, but I also find it so immensely disturbing. I hate those movies and even that Law and Order, is it SVU? Or the sexual crimes, dude.
I had to stop that. It got too disturbing to me.
Please, I don't even understand. How can that make it? I mean, I hate to be that guy, but how is that on primetime television? I don't understand them. Anyway, Courtney, thank you very much
for having me.
For wrapping it up.
I know the first
Yeah.
First murder Monday of the new year.
First
so
murder,
murder
yeah.
mystery Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
Murder Mystery Monday.
That's right.
On the Mark Thompson Show.
Yes. How about it for Courtney, everybody?
Oh,
Come
thank
on.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Very well done.
Well,
Courtney.
I'll keep everyone updated as more information comes out.
Of course. Thank you. We would
Thank you
expect.
for having me.
Yes. All right.
Bye,
Courtney.
Courtney. We love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
Thank you.
yeah.
Love you all too.
Wow. Very cool. Happy New Year. So that's it, Kim. I mean, the grim details, not good. But it is good that they apprehended this dude. Does appear that he's the guy. I mean, despite all the, innocent until proven guilty stuff. I mean, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Okay, people, unless you're on the jury, I don't think you're allowed to have an opinion.
I don't know. I read something that his parents said, obviously our hearts go out to the families, and then what Courtney said, but we need to move through this with privacy and let justice take its course. And
Yeah.
oh God, what do you say even,
Yeah. Well, it's I guess that's what parents say. But it's so brutal. Michael Hilsick joins us in the next half hour. Kim, you have some news ready to go after a
Indeed
stormy
I
weekend
do.
in the Bay Area. Thank you for smashing the like button. Thank you for being here, Albert. Thank you for being here, Kim. And thank you, viewers, listeners, for being here as well on this first official day. It's a holiday, but we are here live. So it's really cool to have you guys with us as well. Mark Thompson Show.
Hey, which one do you use? Mark Thompson?
Use Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. I'll tell you, we had it all over the weekend. We had rain, we had snow, earthquakes, floods. I'll tell you, here's how it looked in the Santa Cruz Mountains. This is not pretty. This is this is how it looked. Flooding and mudslides around the Bay Area. Santa Cruz Mountains hit hard. You can see landslides in this area of the Santa Cruz Mountains along parts of Highway 9. It looks like some rushing water down rural roads. Part of the looks like Felton Big Basin area just inundated with water, and some roads snapped in half, couldn't bear the weight of the water. They had a trouble spot in Sacramento as well. You can see this levee break. Just where the levee, you see the line, and then you can see where the water kind of flows over the line where the red arrow points. That's one of the levee breaches in the Sacramento area. I wanted to show you that picture because it was brutal. This levee breach led to evacuation orders near the town of Wilton, right near Sacramento. The water rushed over roads, including parts of Highway 99. That is where the body of a missing person has been found in a submerged vehicle. Flooding on that part of Highway 99 led to vehicles being stuck on the roadway, and dozens of people had to be rescued early yesterday morning. So it was a bad scene. They say they will be able to strengthen and repair parts of the levee today before the next storm moves into the Sacramento area. And we had another earthquake, this one again in the far reaches of Northern California. The earthquake was a 5.4 magnitude registered in Humboldt County about 10:30 a.m. yesterday. The quake's epicenter near Eureka, Rio Del. We had the Ferndale earthquake recently, this in the same area, and it looks like we had even more damage as well. And looks like part of the new $1.7 trillion federal budget will actually include a budget for icebreakers. That is correct. We are going to see $350 million for a new icebreaker to fight ice dams in the Great Lakes. The U.S. Coast Guard has just one heavy icebreaker called the Mackinac, used primarily in the Straits of Mackinac between Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. The ships not only break up ice jams that lead to flooding, but also provide necessary shipping lanes for the Great Lakes. Unfortunately, some sad news about tennis great Martina Navratilova. It appears that she is battling cancer. The 66-year-old Czech native who won the 18 Grand Slam single titles during her tennis career, says both cancers that she has are considered early stage, and she does plan to begin treatment next month.
Wow, she is such a terrific.
Yeah.
Well, she was terrific understates how great a tennis player she was.
Yeah.
But she's also what I was going to say is a terrific voice for sensible stuff. She really is. I thought she was a great commentator, and I thought her takes on world events, when she was on everything from, when was it? What's her name? Oh my God, the woman who had to drop out of the after winning, she dropped Oksana or anyway.
Naomi Osaka.
Yeah, thank you, Albert. Bravo, well done, Naomi Osaka.
Sports commissioner, indeed. That's right.
The commissioner knows as they kicked it around, as they often do with sports commentators. Her takes were so clean. I think she's a brilliant person and a magnificent athlete, and we wish her, a recovery, a full recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Rose Parade, of course, for New Year's, and had a little mishap. There was a vintage vehicle carrying VIPs that was supposed to drive in the Tournament of Roses parade route in Pasadena. It broke down. So the passengers had to get out and hoof it. There they are. The passengers include Pasadena Mayor Victor Gordo, actor Danny Trejo. Yes.
Wow.
The 1907 autocar bus malfunctioned before setting out onto Colorado Boulevard for the 134th running of the parade.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
Yeah.
The vehicle had been restored in the 80s. It had appeared in movies like Titanic and Around the World in 80 Days. Apparently, it's been around long enough that it had just had quite enough. Yeah.
Wow.
So the parade route's 5.5 miles long. Those guys walked it.
Right.
This is no picnic, no summer camp.
All right. So
Get out of the car and
get
you
out there
walk
and
it.
hoof it. Right.
Set the scene. That's right. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, it's all about Steve Moskowitz. He's at 888-TAX-DEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Wow, thank you. I mean, imagine how I feel. That's quite an over-the-top and intimidating introduction, which is exactly the way we like our introductions. Great to have you here for the new year, everyone. Thank you for smashing the like button like a boss. And
Smash it with your iron rod.
in that YouTube world, we're still in a horrible YouTube situation. I've discussed it with friends of mine who are in the YouTube scene, and they tell me that this is one of the most frustrating situations they've ever encountered. So we're in a YouTube free fall. So thank you for two things: for smashing the like button when you're here, I should say, and you're in replay. Being someone who hits the like button, it costs you nothing, and it does help us out in the logarithms.
Smash it
with your iron rod or in any way you want. But the other thing I was going to say, and you just saw it flash there for a moment, you can visit themarkthompsonshow.com and click contribute. And you can contribute through Patreon, you can contribute through PayPal. Sadly, we need your ongoing support because otherwise, because of this YouTube free fall we're in, we have literally no income from YouTube. And we were doing really well. So we've built this thing that's actually doing really well. Our viewership's good, our growth is good. But now YouTube, because of a clerical error not related to content, they have bounced us from monetization. So we are demonetized is the word they used. And I'm working on it, but you get all of these different people. You can't ever get anybody on the phone. You get all of these different people involved sending you emails back and forth. You do exactly what they tell you to do, but that leads you into another corner. So without burdening you any further, you can contribute that way if you want to support the show. Now, I want to bring on a Pulitzer Prize winner, one of our faves from 2022. Likely will continue to be one of our faves for the new year. Put it together for the business columnist, the LA Times. We went to the same university, which makes me Pulitzer Prize adjacent
Well, if I went to the same high school as him, am I also Pulitzer adjacent?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
It's Michael Hilsick, everyone. Wow. Look at you, Hiltzick. You do look like a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yeah, Tim, did you really go to the same high school as I did?
No, I don't think so. I was just I was just trying to like hope a little against hope there.
How dare you, Tim? How dare you try to grab a piece of Hiltzick glory?
Sorry.
Again, he has a Pulitzer, but we are taking his word for that since he can't actually locate the Pulitzer. We asked him,
oh!
Come on, that is
bringing it.
Prize.
That's right.
Look at you.
Not only that, but that year, I don't know if they did this. They also gave out these little plexiglass ornaments, which you may not be able to read, but it says the same thing.
So there's no like medallion around your neck, or
no medallions. No.
You got to have the thing, though. I'm glad they didn't just give you a plaque. They gave you some kind. You got to have some sort of trophy, I guess is the word I would use. You do have to have that, Michael. So I'm glad you do. John Watson says that's the prize.
I expected it to be a little more grand.
No, there was a check. There was money.
Yeah,
that came along with it. And I can tell you, Chuck Phillips, who was my partner in the reporting, who won the Pulitzer with me, we split the check, and my share of it was spent even before I received it on tickets to the Lion King on Broadway with my kids who were children then, and they're not anymore. But so that was a great.
That's cool.
A great thing.
I'm glad you didn't. I didn't know you then. I never would have. I would never would have sanctioned wasting the money on your children at the Lion King. I mean, how old were your kids at the time, Michael Hilsick?
Well, let's see. It was they were probably 9 and 12.
Oh, so they would remember. They remember it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember we had seats on the aisle, and the ushers told us to seat the children on the aisle because if anyone has seen The Lion King on Broadway, there are points at which the animals come walking down the aisle. I mean, the actors in their animal suits, and it's so it was a thrill. It was a good show, and I'm hard to please, but there you have it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the whole thing, that there's sort of an audience aspect to The Lion King, which is perfect for kids that age. That really
was a great production.
All right, so I actually do sanction the including the kids with the Pulitzer Prize. Now, I brought you on initially for a story that I think a lot is being made of, and maybe we can get to some other stuff too, because you've got such great takes on so many things. You can read Michael Hilsick, of course, in the LA Times. He's the business writer there, and I think that his stuff is picked up and then it's rerun in papers and publications and websites across the country and around the world. The notion that people are leaving California. Now, by the way, Michael, this is demonstrably true, right? I mean, we lost a seat in Congress as a result of it, maybe, or I wonder if you can maybe speak to that. But also just the idea somehow that people are going to Texas, they're going to Florida, they're sick of the libs, they're sick of the taxes, they're sick of progressive politics, whatever the reason, they want to leave California. Is there truth to that? First of all, as I say, I think there is some truth to that. But also the question as to who's leaving and how much to really make of this phenomenon.
Well, I've written about this. I write about this maybe a couple of times a year because it's a narrative that never goes away. And sure, it's true in the last year or maybe the year before that, we lost something in the neighborhood of 300,000 residents. But of course, this is a state with 40 million residents. So, we're talking about less than 1% accounted for by that number. And if you drill down into the actual figures, you discover that the people who are leaving tend to be lower income and less educated residents, in part for an obvious reason, which is that housing is very expensive here in California, and if you want an affordable home, you have to go way out into the Inland Empire, or far beyond the East Bay if you're in Northern California, and then your commute is murder and also expensive, obviously. But we see consistently that higher income people, and particularly better educated people, come into California. There's a net inflow of college graduates, people with advanced degrees, certainly high school graduates, and that's good. I mean, that's a sign that California is still a place with a very vibrant economy and a vibrant industrial economy. And now, we hear a lot. A lot of this narrative comes from Florida and Texas, which want to build themselves up as sort of the new Californias and alternatives to California. I'm not sure. We don't really have figures at this point or analyses, but I have a sense, and I've written about this mostly as conjecture, that the political shifts in Florida and Texas way to the right, particularly worse discrimination against LGBTQ people, anti-abortion laws that are really not just you can't get an abortion, but really affects the quality of health care that women get and that families get, that's going to, if not reverse the trend, then certainly slow it down. I mean, if you are a recent college graduate, who's a woman, obviously in childbearing age, you may want to start a family, you may want to put off starting a family, and you get job offers from companies that are in Texas or Miami, as or companies that are in California or New York or Illinois. This is going to actually matter to you. And I talked to at some point a recruiter for University of Wisconsin who said, we have to tell people something we never had to tell them before, which is that this is going to be an issue for them if they're a young woman or a member of a young family. He said there are professors who we recruited in the past that we would not be able to persuade to come to Madison today. So we're going to see, reason says we're going to see some effect from that.
I hadn't planned to digress on this with you, but I'm going to nonetheless. And maybe we can just spend a moment or two on it. I feel like when I speak to Hiltzick, there's so much I want to talk to him about. But okay, so here's the digression on this. There's a part of us, or I'll just speak for myself, the part of me that goes right on. You don't do the right thing. You don't evolve with the culture. You don't evolve with morality and ethics. You take away a woman's reproductive rights. You take away rights of the LGBTQ community. I mean, this isn't just wokeness. This is just basic stuff. We shouldn't have to even be discussing this crap. And you make it your jihad in these various states, and you lose people, you lose businesses, and you're going to continue to lose people and businesses. Now to the digression on the question. There is legitimate research being done that involves those states that's not being done on behalf of those states, but it may be done around, let's say, the LGBTQ community, and how they're treated in various family situations, how they're treated by various policies in states like Texas, Florida, et cetera, and how those communities suffer. And then there's specific research being done that then cannot be done because funding, there'll be an embargo on funding, let's say, from the Stanfords of the world or from other universities, or you get the point. And all of a sudden, there's a darkness, a desert, when it comes to research that actually could benefit some of those communities that lead to the boycott to begin with. Thoughts?
Well, I think that research is being done, but it's very early now in this trend line. Florida and Texas, some of their laws are a year old. In some cases, less than a year old. It's just going to take time, particularly since, the recruiting season, doesn't match the calendar year. So we don't know, but we will, I think, within this year, start to see some analyses that can pinpoint whether there is an effect and if there is an effect. So
it's too early to take the temperature of the water in effect on that.
Well, yeah, I think what we've seen thus far is a lot of speculation, and we've seen some anecdotal reports from people who said, I was recruited to go to University of Texas. A fairly prominent academic who I talked to, who's in Arizona, which isn't the greatest place for her, as it turns out, but said I was recruited to go to a university in Texas. I don't know if she said it was, Austin. And I turned them down. In fact, I didn't even take the interview. So I think we will see some of that. And even if the numbers don't turn out to be striking, I think we will see some demographic shifts. Because, highly educated people are going to think twice, and you don't want recruits to think twice. You want them to say, yeah. You are the place I absolutely want to be, and if I don't take your job, life will be worth living, but that's not going to happen. All other things being equal, California's economy, through this entire period has been growing leaps and bounds, faster than Florida's, faster than Texas's. It's still the biggest economy in the country, one of the biggest in the world. And when you talk about companies that have left, we hear basically the same 4 or 5 names: Tesla, HP Enterprise, Oracle. And we've been hearing these names for a couple of years, but I just don't see much evidence that there's this wave of thriving companies that are leaving California. I mean, we certainly see companies that are building new facilities and aren't building them in California, but that's sort of a natural occurrence of the fact that we live in a mature economy where construction is expensive and there's not much land left for greenfield factories and facilities, so they'll go elsewhere, but the headquarters is still here.
I have a question for you about who's leaving. And if it's the people that can't afford to live in California because of their education level and their income level, is it okay if we say adios? Or are these people that we need because we have these jobs all over the state that are maybe, jobs that don't require great deal of skill, or they're not engineering jobs per se, but restaurant jobs and service jobs? And are we going to see more of a problem with businesses closing because we don't have people in those sectors to work? So I guess what I'm asking is it a problem that these people are leaving?
Well, the lack of workers in certain sectors and at certain economic levels, not the poorest, not the richest, but good, middle class, maybe working class jobs, is an issue. But not only in California, but in any event, to go to your main question, it's not right to say adios. I mean, these are people who are contributing to the economy and who in fact, we do need them to fill necessities in the employment spectrum. So it's not good to say adios. What will fix this? I mean, you are just not going to get a lot of affordable housing in the coastal metropolises. There's just not enough room. There's, not enough incentive. There's a lot of not in my backyardism. You can build in Riverside and San Bernardino, and outlying places. That's not the best thing if you need to bring in workers, into Los Angeles or Santa Monica or Orange County or, the peninsula. So it's a tough problem, and it is a problem. I mean, I don't think I've ever written anything that minimizes the issue, though. the numbers are exaggerated generally. As I said, less than 1% are leaving. And when you talk about the fact that we lost a congressional seat, part of that is simply that some of these other states grew faster, not that California particularly reversed its population growth, but it certainly slowed down over the last 5 years or so. And so, we gave up a seat, but we still have, how many congressional districts in California? 53, maybe we're down to 52, or maybe we went from 54 to 53. I don't quite recall the numbers. This is the biggest congressional delegation in the country by a wide margin.
Yeah.
Right. And it probably should be even bigger in my view, but that's the way the country is set up.
Well, we need more senators. That's
right.
We need more senators than Wyoming gets, but that's
really absurd that right, exactly. It's absurd that North Dakota and South Dakota are separate states. It's absurd that the District of Columbia, which has a population that exceeds 20 other states that have 2 senators, they don't have 1 senator. And Puerto Rico in the same category. It's despicable. In the Electoral College, we could open up the hood on the whole thing. I mean, we have this reverence for the the founding documents, and reverence is always a fun thing and a good thing. And I think it's well placed. They did something that was very difficult, to put it mildly, to forge.
And I can tell you, wearing my hat as the author of a forthcoming history of California. Which is still in the works. At the time of statehood, when California was seeking statehood, there was a discussion in the California Constitutional Convention, and then the first legislature, which all took place before statehood, about whether this state should be more than one state, and that ended up not being so, in part because, people at the conventions and the legislature said, if we come to Washington with the possibility of 4 senators, not just 2, we may not get statehood at all, because they're going to be concerned about 4 anti-slavery senators, and it'll throw the balance.
So even then, you had the politics of the time deciding who should have representation and what parts of the country should have representation. Now you have the politics of the time deciding that Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico should not get representation. They don't say it out loud, or maybe more and more they do say it out loud. But that's
some of them have said it out loud. Fear of being identified as a racist doesn't seem to matter much in some furthest reaches of American politics.
Yeah.
It used to matter, but now they don't. They seem to wear it as a badge.
I had one last thing, Kim. It's really, we're running up against your news time. Can I ask you about Michael Hilsick, who was so kind to be with us on this first day? A lot of companies are closed down today. A lot of shows aren't on live today. We are on live, and Michael's been nice enough to join us here. You did a story about Southwest Airlines and what happened to them during the meltdown essentially the Southwest had during the Christmas holiday, and the storms that accompanied the Christmas holiday. Could you speak to that? The Southwest, essentially, give us your take on Southwest, because you feel they were our airline with more problems than anybody else, and so you said that's no coincidence.
Right. Well, the general point that I made, and I can give you a little advance notice. I'm going to be writing again on them, a slightly different aspect of Southwest management tomorrow. But basically, the main point I made was that in the old days, if you go back to management gurus like Peter Drucker, the idea was that if you are a consumer company, a consumer business, job 1 is to serve the customer. Job 2 might be to keep your employees happy so that they serve the customers. And then when all of that is done and you've spent to do all that, what's left over can go to the shareholders. in the form of dividends or what have you. We have turned that on its head, and Southwest is a perfect example of that, because they and many other companies basically pay off their shareholders first. They pay through dividends, they pay through stock buybacks, and in the last year, American companies have bought back $1 trillion worth of stock, and these are benefits that go directly to shareholders. But it leaves the companies without the money to do what they need to do. And Southwest has been told for years and years and years by its employees and middle managers that it needs to get its technology in shape, because its system is very complicated to deal with. It doesn't have individual hubs from which all other flights spring. It's a point-to-point system. It's got a lot of hubs, and it's complicated to make sure that the planes are in the right place and that the crews are in the right place to fly and serve those planes. And when something bad happens, a major storm, it can blow at every seam, and that's what we've seen. I pointed out in my last column that the CEO of Southwest went on a video to his employees and said, well, we've been talking about, improving our technology. Now it's time to do it. And, they've been talking about this for 15 years already, and they never, ever really get it done. They're just not equipped. So, this is not the first time Southwest has had a blow up like this. It's like the third time in maybe 10 years. And if they didn't save any money, they're going to have to spend hugely to recover their reputation and to get passengers back. They're going to have to give discounts. They're going to have to pay off passengers' expenses. They're going to have to advertise to say, we're the new Southwest. We're not as bad as you heard over Christmas time. But it's going to, they didn't, they were penny wise and pound foolish. They issued a press release on December 7th when they reinstated their dividend after a year of not paying it, in which they said Southwest once again is serving the shareholders. You read that and you say, well, okay, but they're not the ones flying Southwest. They're flying first class, so.
Yeah, I think that what you said is sort of demonstrably true. And the last point you make is such an important one, which is, guys, all that money you thought you were saving, you're now losing, and you're just going to be taking on water like crazy, trying to rehabilitate your reputation and to rehabilitate your company to get passengers back. This was not just a hiccup, Michael, as you've detailed in your columns, and I guess there's another column coming with that slightly different angle on this Southwest situation. There are people who were stranded for days and days in various parts of the country. And I mean, it destroyed not only vacation plans, but it ruined work situations. There were the stories were, disturbing in the extreme. You realize it's not just vacation travelers who were affected by a delay of this kind.
And I could tell you, somebody asked me, I was actually on our local Fox News affiliate, during all this, and they asked, well, won't people forget about this and move on? And I said, look, it's possible that this particular episode will sort of, be lost in the mist of time, but they have a big problem ahead of them, because now anytime some Christmas time passenger for Southwest decides that he or she has been cheated, that Southwest hasn't lived up to its commitment to cover their expenses, that's going to be a front page story. We're going to get just a constant flow of these stories from passengers who say they did not get what they were promised by Southwest. So it's just, they're going to have to be very generous and very understanding, and we'll see if Southwest can really manage the fallout, because there's going to be 6 months at least, maybe a year of it.
Oh yeah, I mean most certainly. All right, well, watch for that column. Michael Hilsick can be read in the LA Times. As I say, his stuff is picked up by other papers as well, and other websites across the nation. So cool to talk to you. Glad we finally saw the Pulitzer, because I was telling people, look, he's really got one, guys. He's really got. They're going, well, I've never seen it, and every time you ask for it, he doesn't have it. So at least that was put to rest today. Michael, love you. Michael Hilsick, everybody. Happy New Year, pal.
All right, Mark. Kim, good to see you.
Yeah, good to
Happy
see
New
you.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, wow. So we're behind on your news. I still love your newscasts. And by the way, one of the things that you should get credit for, Kim, is that as we've evolved into this new space, it's not just radio. We're this mix right now.
Yeah.
It was radio come to this other platform. Now we're trying to evolve it and include some visual elements and that sort of thing. You've included those visual elements. You've evolved your newscast, I'd say, maybe ahead of everything else. Really, really cool.
I'm trying. I failed the first time around. And sometimes I get so involved in conversations like with Michael Hiltzick that then I falter on the pictures. But I think I've got some good ones this time around.
All right. Well, I'm excited that your newscast is still to come. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Hit that thumbs up from Michael Hilsick. Come on, everybody. Yeah. You want to be generous with your thumbs up, I always say. When I go on YouTube and I watch even something for a little while, I hit him with a thumbs up. Doesn't cost me anything. Helps him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on, right on.
I figured out that I can not only click the thumbs up button on my computer, but later in the afternoon, as I'm waiting to pick up children, I go in on my phone and I click it again.
Oh,
so I like it twice.
We're getting thumbs up from inside the house. I love that. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Kim's news, and we'll wrap up. I do have a I'd like to do it maybe a Law and Disorder, kind of a cool little wild story, though. So we'll get to that as well. Happy New Year, everybody. Great to have you here, Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. 3 New York City officers released from the hospital after a New Year's Eve attack. Police say 19-year-old Trevor Bickford of Maine is in custody after he allegedly swung a large knife at officers in Times Square, leaving one with a skull fracture, another with a bad cut. Looks like a machete. There you see it on the street. Investigators say the suspect had terrorist-related propaganda in his backpack. Dr. Fauci. Yep. This week, we'll see a Twitter Files report focused on Dr. Anthony Fauci.
That's not fake. That's real.
That, according to CEO Elon Musk. In recent weeks, Musk has increasingly been critical of the longtime leading infectious disease expert. The Twitter Files are the work of journalists that Musk has assigned to address controversies at the intersection of politics and of media as well. And you might think, why is she showing the Mark Thompson hydration system? Why? What is happening? Well, staying hydrated could help slow the aging process. That, according to a new National Institutes of Health study that looked at more than 11,000 Americans over a period of 25 years.
That's
found
not fake. That's real.
Yes, those who weren't drinking enough fluids, as determined by the amount of sodium in their blood, were at higher risk for age-related conditions like heart failure, kidney disease, dementia, diabetes, stroke, even premature death.
If
So
you get
you
it in
see,
order, you get extra points.
you need the Mark Thompson hydration system.
Heart disease. I don't think I got it in order.
No, you don't. You didn't get it. But you can get the hydration system and drink that water and make sure that you're healthy.
Come on,
we
everybody.
Start 2023 in such a way.
Fully hydrated.
Fully hydrated, that's right. Thousands of Brazilians paying their respect to international soccer legend Pelé. A 24-hour public wake is being held at the stadium where Pelé played soccer club Santos just outside Sao Paulo. The 3-time World Cup champion died last week after a battle with cancer, and again, he is being remembered now. Interesting story, I thought, at least, out of Las Vegas. They have this property. This is where the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history took place. It's an MGM Resorts property, or was. On Friday, the company announced it had closed the sale on the 15-acre Village property, where a 2017 gunman opened fire from a hotel room and killed 58 people at a concert below. The property has remained unused since that shooting. It was purchased by 3 affiliated tribes of the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation based in North Dakota. The CEO and president of MGM says he knows the property is very important to a lot of people, but the tribes have demonstrated that they care about the community, its future, and its past as well. And there's some exciting things happening in the sky. The Planet Labs company in San Francisco plans to launch 36 of its so-called Super Dove satellites on a SpaceX rocket tomorrow morning. The Falcon 9 launch in Cape Canaveral, Florida, scheduled for no earlier than 9:56 a.m. Eastern Time. Very specific. These 36 Super Dove satellites are meant to replenish planet's current fleet of about 200 satellites in orbit, working to provide a continuous and complete view of the world from above every single day. And
That's
lastly,
pretty cool, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean,
The science is ridiculous.
well, I don't know. Solid
if you
science.
thought
All
that we were off to a better start in 2023, allow
Mhm.
me to pop that bubble for you. A fight over a parking spot leads to the very first official homicide in New York City
Are
for
you kidding me?
2023. No.
Wow.
I kid you not. I'd give you details, but doesn't
It's
really
fight
matter. I mean,
over a parking space and somebody ends up dead.
somebody ends up dead over a parking spot.
No, that's pretty brutal.
Happy New Year to you too, pal. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve
Yeah.
has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, and you got to start thinking about it because the end of the year is here and tax day is coming, you got to call Steve at 888-TAX-STEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the
right.
way, yeah, the Mark Thompson Show is the outcue, though. Oh, good. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens.
Very well done, Shadow.
This is the Mark Thompson Show. Give it to yourself.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Shadow Stevens, he is here this week. He will be joining us. So you get to see the man behind the voice. That'll be kind of cool. Was it just me? Or did anybody else watch the New Year's Eve shows? And I specifically refer to the CNN show with Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper. I was watching the football game as a good American would. Exactly. Thank you very much. But I also was flipping around during a commercial, I think it was, or something, and I saw Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen, and I guess they've been told not to drink this year. Did you? Because they got really hammered last year.
Last year was crazy.
Cohen got the
Sayonara, sucker.
that was Cohen, right?
Don Lemon last year was like, woo.
I am of divided mind on this, and I don't mean to suggest in any way that this is like the one of the major issues confronting the nation. But that said, I would say that I don't know that I'm crazy for anchor people hosting these New Year's Eve shows where there's drinking going on and there's kind of a raucousness going. I think it does maybe hurt their credibility a little bit. I mean, especially if they get hammered on the air, that's just inexcusable, I think.
I kind of liked that it showed a different side to them. It kind of, you get the fun, you kind of get a little more human in there. For a while, it was like, okay. And I think now it's a little overboard.
Yeah, but Neiman is right. There was no drinking, so they were boring. I mean, again, I picked that boredom very quickly. It was not hard.
If they did it once a year, that would be must watch. It would be like, all right, everybody, let's go see the CNN people let loose a little bit. So every New Year's, or just one wild card, just have one of them drink and we could guess which one did it.
Well,
now that's good.
Cohen was and continues to be sort of the wild-ish card, and seeing them break up, realizing the absurdity of what they're doing as they, intro certain musical acts or whatever, that was kind of fun. It seems to work for them, so I don't know, but it just on another level also, it was just, it's got this weird quality to it. But the weirdness may bring me in and bring you in, bring the viewer in, I'm just now looking at the chat as we finished up here. I had another story for you and I will do it, but here's Mark, how about doing crossover shows with Chip and Nikki? Yeah, I'd love to do that. We've talked about that, actually. We've talked about it on Friday. So I'd love to do that. Chip does a show before ours goes on the air, and Nikki does a show after ours goes on the air. And one of the problems is the Chip show goes on right before we go on, and we are in the middle generally usually of some technical thing, aren't we? Like today, realizing,
always something.
Tony's not here. How are we going to run the murder stuff? So there's always, it's weird how we're in crisis right before we go on, technical crisis. And, was a link sent to so-and-so, et cetera. So so I usually can't make that Chip crossover thing from his show. Sometimes I'll get there and he's doing something really heavy and it just doesn't work. But I'd love to do it. And of course, with Nikki, you can't do, she's, the reason we don't do crossover with Nikki, honestly, same reason. We're crammed in. Look at this. We've got nothing, and we're still crammed in at the end of the show. So it puts pressure on the other show to somehow wrap up in time to promote the next show. So, but I love the idea, and I love Chip and Nikki, so anything I could do would be terrific. I saw that guy indirect earlier. Kim, did you see that? Or Albert, did you catch that? When we were having
text.
when I was ranting about, whatever technical thing was going on. He goes, how come Nikki doesn't have any problems with her show like this? I don't even know if indirect is a dude, but it seems to me like a guy. It's sort of a trollish thing that a guy would say or do. Yeah. Nikki's got a much easier show to do on one level, right? It's just her and Kim. That's it. We have many more moving parts on this show. I like many more moving parts. I like a family. That's one of the things that I like. Sometimes the family has to be smaller because you just can't support a bigger family. But I love that Albert's here, and I love that Kim's here and Tony's here. So that's part of it. I mean, it's definitely so far not, it's financially difficult, but we'll try to make it work. But when you say, how come there are no problems? Because it's much easier if it's just you. It's a much easier show to do, typically.
More people to blame for you. More people to think. Yeah, more people for everything. A different person to get the robe in the morning.
That's exactly right. Back in the old days, pre-COVID, Albert would have my smoking jacket folded neatly, my robe folded neatly, my martini glass filled with my favorite vodka.
I'd get the outdoor jacket, outdoor Mr. Rogers jacket in the closet, and out of the closet comes the indoor Mark. Yeah.
And then I insisted when COVID hit that Albert still maintain those duties, only use tongs to hold my robe and my smoking jacket, because at that time we thought that you could actually transmit the virus by holding things. Once we learned that that was not the case, but by then, of course, KGO went through their thing and Albert was gone, and then it was just. So I love the good old days, being treated like a star. I'm seeing all the chats now. Sorry. Do the MT show from Chip and Nikki's channel so you can monetize. Oh, that's a thought. Yeah. Love the MT show, problems and all. Come on, everybody. That's cool. I can't have a little more of that attitude around here for the new year. But a little more support. Smash the like button. You can start with that.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
And subscribe if you haven't. If you're just happening upon us, please subscribe. And do you want a quickie, Albert? Can I do a quickie lawn disorder?
Yeah, the story down south.
Yeah, the story down south. Let's do it.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law, you're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
It's a quickie story, and I want to acknowledge in the new year someone who I think should be the associate producer of this show, unofficially, Calvin Wong, for sending
Calvin.
me the story. Calvin is pretty prolific, if I can say that. Prolific would be a ding word, I suppose. Yeah, a ding word. A ding word, actually, not an applause word. A ding. Thank you very much. The break-in at a Mexican prison less than 15 miles from the U.S. border on New Year's Day has left 14 people dead, including 10 prison employees. The incident occurred at El Centro Estatal de Reinserción Social in Ciudad Juárez, Mexico. 24 prisoners, or 24, as we say in my country, 24 prisoners escaped the facility. That's right. The outlet cites a military report which says 6 trucks armed with personnel arrived at the facility where someone was waiting for them.
Oh.
The group opened fire on the prison, took 24 prisoners away. Authorities say they have secured control of the prison, are actively checking all areas of the facility. The prison break took place close to the U.S.-Mexico border, near El Paso. They have faced difficulties housing this mass influx of immigrants crossing the southern border, as you know, in the El Paso area. Add to it now this prison situation. Pretty scary.
I wonder if that was like a cartel thing.
It's feeling very cartel-y.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling very, very cartel-y.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
Right.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Yeah, pretty wild. Well, there you go. What can I say? I actually had some. The Nikki Maduro show. Could you tell us what's coming up on Nikki's show, please, Kim?
Yeah, she's talking Niners, of course. She's going to talk about that and the most hated baby names. Okay, it's good as we start the new year. New babies, new names, and the ones not to pick. Right. Former Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf will be on with a new segment Nikki calls "Why Do You Do It," which is what motivated you to have the career that you have? Why do you do this? So we'll talk to Libby Schaaf about that. And Dry January. Are you doing it? I'm not doing it.
Oh, where you give it up? You give it up
the
booze.
That's
man,
right.
I am really not doing it. It's really sad how I'm not doing it.
All that in 4 minutes on the Nikki Maduro show.
Man, that's really hot.
That's really hot.
I think it is. Yeah. I had a great drop from Nikki. My drops are all messed up now. I've got a lot of complaints in the new year. Yeah. I don't know. But let's take this one. I had a great drop from Nikki. It was about her mushrooms.
Oh, I heard that at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, she did mushrooms the other day on her show. Like I watched Nikki's show.
So it's like a Friday food segment, but it wasn't like psychedelic mushrooms, right?
You know, she's dosing.
I am dosing mushrooms right now.
Yeah, all right. And she's dosing them. They weren't psychedelic. You're right. They were some kind of other medicinal mushrooms. Is that it?
Right. Some type of mushrooms that are supposed to increase your, gastric functions and your mental functions and,
We do have some incriminating evidence against her, though, with that drop.
Yeah.
And that's just giving me a bunch of ideas.
I'm dosing mushrooms right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like
You do not know what you are talking about.
Well, it's true. Most of the time, I don't know what I'm talking about. But it is the case in this instance that I saw her show when she said it. And
I am dosing mushrooms right now.
Yeah, so
that's not fake.
Exactly.
That's real.
That's not fake. It is the real thing. So I'm just saying, I don't know. We haven't done anything like that on this show yet. We have But Albert, maybe in the new year, you want to figure out what we should be doing. Should we all be dropping something or doing shots?
Albert, thank you.
I don't know. Never
For charity.
really.
We'll raise some money. We'll do something.
Charity. You're right. It might be good.
Charity's a great excuse to drink on the job.
I did not last even I'd like to cut back on the drinking. I have to do a morning show tomorrow. I'm appearing on a morning show in Los Angeles tomorrow. So I mentioned that because I'm trying to increase. Well, first of all, I mentioned it because
Do you know who I am?
Exactly. Right.
Is it a TV or radio thing?
TV. It's TV.
Oh, okay.
No, radio would be so easy. I love radio. I love radio so much more than even this, because you're seen here and people already goes, well, your forehead is really high. Blah, blah, blah. You could just show movies on your forehead. I mean, like, I got really good. It's all I can do to get this show on every day. And now you're like busting on me like that. But radio is just so great. But radio is gone. So we're doing this, and I'm going on this morning news show at KTLA Morning News tomorrow, Channel 5 in Los Angeles. And they were so nice to invite me on. And I actually want your help because they wanted to see some stuff and like some video. And of course, Tony's not here to put it together. So whatever. Anyway, I'm a little nervous about like tonight. No alcohol is what I thought of. Right. I've got to no anything else. You got to be really and get to bed early because you got to get up super early and you have to be camera ready.
Sharp.
You got to be camera ready. Even you got to look. It's not that you have to be. You can't be, dashingly handsome, maybe in my case, but I can certainly look presentable, So I have all of this stuff to worry about. And I thought about it last night as I was drinking vodka like a prisoner on death row. So
are you going to suit and tie it, or are you going to Mr. Rogers jacket it?
Stay at home and get baked.
I am going to go, I think, more like this. I'm not going to suit and tie it. Don't you think? I think if you suit and tie it, it's not a job interview. You know what I mean?
Are you doing it from home?
No, got to go into the studio. Oh yeah, it's
that outfit. Just get a little bit of that vodka on the fingers behind the ear, and then just head your way to the studios. I think that's the move.
Oh, I love that plan.
Go to the TV station looking like you just rolled out of bed, smelling like booze, and women who can't keep an address.
That's the thing. They had a show in Los Angeles on Channel 11 where I used to work, and the morning weather person, she was a terrific personality, Jillian. She would sometimes dress, and she just got in from the club. It was great. And she was the best personality on television, too. So this has been fun. I hope everyone has enjoyed this live presentation. Nikki is live next, as you just heard. So it's really cool that Nikki will continue. I don't think she's doing mushrooms today. The mushroom show is Friday. Please subscribe. Encourage others to subscribe. Share the show, the parts that you think are shareable. And we will rejoin you tomorrow.
Shadow Stevens for the Mark Johnson Show.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Until tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Albert. Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.